Yo guys, what is going on? Lucky here and welcome to World of Cringe episode number 8. And in today's episode of World of Cringe, we are going to be watching Bouncing Luke, which you might already be familiar with since he is actually a very close friend of mine who also helped me with my World of WTF series in the past. But anyways, Bouncing Luke is playing in the Mighty Mouse on the map Abby. And I gotta be honest with you guys here, when Bouncing Luke told me I should definitely check out this awesome game he had, I was just like, you know what, let's just give it a shot, how bad could it be? And holy fuck, I've never seen such an intense mouse game in quite some time. So again, I say this pretty much every episode and I'll try not to, but this time I will 100% try not to spoil too much. So I won't be saying anything this time, but just like the previous episode of World of Cringe, this replay also contains some form of cringe, but mainly for chat behavior and the behavior of Luke's teammates. So Luke is actually not the one who is practicing the cringe right here, but as a compensation for that, the actual gameplay that Luke is going to show us right here in just a few minutes is gonna be absolutely insane. So guys, I highly suggest you stick around until the end of the video to find out how Bouncing Luke might carry his way up until the victory for his team, or might maybe die in a heartbreak. Again, I'm not spoiling anything, we just have to stick around and see what is going to happen. But nevertheless, as you can see right here, Bouncing Luke is taking his mouse to the heavy route on Abby. And why is this route so popular with heavies? Well, if you take a look at the minimap, this route has a lot of mountains and a lot of cover for heavy tanks to potentially shelter from incoming artillery fire. And of course, as a mouse driver, you are gonna get focused by artillery quite a lot because you're such a big, slow and easy target. And maybe this route might also play a role in the outcome of the game, but shit, I'm spoiling again. Should not be doing this. Let's just focus on the gameplay, what's happening right now. So Bouncing Luke is slowly but steadily crawling its way to the heavy spot, and as you can see, he's definitely not alone because it looks like he has the majority of its team coming with him through this route. So I guess the chances for Bouncing Luke and his team to win this flank is very, very big. But on the other hand, if you take a look at the other side, the eastern flank, it looks like the enemy has the advantage right there. So I guess it's just going to be a typical clock formation. You know, the left side spinning upwards, the right side spinning downwards, kind of like a clock movement. I don't know, I just made it up myself. Maybe it makes sense, I don't know. I'll just leave that for you to decide. But anyways, just as I expected, Bouncing Luke and its teammates can easily push through the left side of the mountain without the enemies really noticing. While the enemies are completely focused on fighting that standard B and a WZ-111-14 on the right side of the mountain. So that allows Luke and his remaining teammates to easily peek around the corner and shoot them from the sides and rear. But there is no time for that yet, since there is an enemy Type 5 heavy peeking around the corner trying to stop them. But that is of course not stopping a mouse, a Jagdpanzer E100 and a T10. So they ignore him during his long reload and they just push forward so they can shoot the E75 in the side right there. And oh, Bouncing Luke actually misses his shot there. That's bad aim. But the Type 5 is still having no mercy since he's still spamming HE on the mouse. Even though it's not doing that much damage, I believe Bouncing Luke is rocking a heavy spall liner. I just assume that since the HE damage didn't do that much against him. But anyway, since all the enemies that were fighting on the right side of the mountain are dead, that means that Luke and its teammates can fully focus their attention onto this poor overcommitting Type 5 heavy. So I guess you're not that tough anymore, right, Mr. Type 5, when you're getting swarmed by 5 enemy tanks. So of course, Luke and his teammates manages to pick him up rather quickly, but there is still another enemy who wants to say hi to Luke and his teammate. It's the enemy Conway, who just sneakily peeked around the corner there to pick up the kill, the WZ-132. But Luke is already heading for his avenging blow, since the Conway kind of overcommits, thinks he can pen Luke, but of course you're not gonna pen him out that easily, which allows Luke to put one shot into him while the Conway bounces on Luke's very thick frontal armor. So again, Luke is putting in the full aggression, but still full aggression in the mouse still means that you only can go forwards at a maximum of 20 kilometers per hour. So it is gonna take a while, but eventually Luke will get there. And ooh, he kind of blocks the T10 there, but I guess there was just an accident and not on purpose, but luckily the T10 came out of that quite safely. Correction, not so safe anymore since the T10 gets killed as well, while Bouncing Luke is getting hammered by artillery. But if you take a look at the damage that the artillery is doing, you see 74-14. Oh, I actually now realize that one of those shots was the T49, but still 74 damage or 14 HE damage from those high caliber, high explosive guns, that is not a lot. So that makes me even believe more that Luke is actually rocking a super heavy spall liner, which is actually quite a good idea for tanks such as the Type 5 and the Mouse, since they can't really evade arty shots that well with their huge profile and low speed. But still, the stun is still pretty annoying since Luke gets hit by artillery again, which results into him kind of struggling finding the shot on the T-49, but he still manages to connect it though. But sadly, the T-49 manages to get away afterward. And while the T-49 is running, the convoy gives his luck a shot and rushes forward to try and get the side of the mouse, but of course Luke is having none of that since he easily connects the shot on the convoy, finishing him off. So after killing that convoy, Luke spots the T-49 who's standing still right there in between the buildings. So can he manage to connect the shot? He's aiming, but the stun is not really making it easier for him. Can he hit it? Yes! There he goes. He manages to connect the shot on the T-49, killing that very important tank on the enemy team. But there is no time for Luke to celebrate yet since the cap siren goes off. So he rushes back to his base, even though he's probably way too slow to reach it in time. But then luckily for him, I guess the enemy was just passing through the cap circle and was not actually trying to cap it, since the cap siren stopped going off after 5 seconds or so. And by the way, if you take a look at Luke's base, it doesn't look that great, since there are no tanks right there to defend it. So in order for Luke and his team to win this game, he really has to make its way back to his own base to defend it from capping. But of course, since it is a mouse, it is going to take him a while. But luckily for him, his teammate, the Standard B, is winning him some time by causing a nice distraction for the enemy team who is trying to cap their base, and he even kills one of them by doing so, which leaves Luke and his teammate the Jagdpanzer E100 and the Standard B alone against 6 enemy vehicles, where 2 of them are artillery pieces. Oh, well, correction, that leaves only Luke and the Jagdpanzer E100 against 6 enemy vehicles, where only 2 of them are artillery pieces. So how is the Jagdpanzer E100 and the mouse going to face a Object 140, an FV215B183, a T54E1, and an STRV1030? Well, I guess we'll have to see that in just a bit. So, Bouncy Luke is actually doing the right thing. He's going back through the route he came, since this route provides the most cover for artillery. But that doesn't necessarily mean that he's completely arty safe right here, but at least it's the right choice. So now we've pretty much reached the most hectic part of the replay, since Bouncy Luke is still advancing, and oh, there is a Death Star right in front of him who's still in full HP. So while he's driving towards the Death Star, he takes a shot at the STRV, but the Jagdpanzer E100 was way faster. So he picks up that STRV, which is one less enemy to worry about. So now Bouncy Luke and the Jagdpanzer E100 can focus their full attention to the Death Star right ahead of them. But there is a sneaky Russian tank sneaking up behind Luke's rear, and it is the Object 140 who is already on 4 kills. So we already had an absolute cracker of a game, and I think he won't hesitate a second to end that game into a win as well. So he was firing a couple of heat rounds into the rear of Luke's tank, but luckily for Luke, the Jagdpanzer E100 prevents him from further advancing, but the distraction of the Object 140 does allow the Death Star to get behind Luke. So with already the Death Star behind him, the Object 140 also is rushing Luke, trying to get on the other side of him, but Luke is very smart and he decides to ram the Object 140, removing the couple of hit points it still had and taking out the Object 140 out of the game. So stuff is looking a little bit better for Luke now, but that artillery shot which he got hit by just a few seconds ago did damage his ammo rack, so his DPM is halved right now, which is not really the thing you want to have if you're now alone against 4 enemy tanks, since the Jagdpanzer just died a few seconds ago. So the current situation is not particularly good, but I guess it is the best situation Luke could ever be in, since he has the Death Star in front of him showing its rear, so the Death Star can't turn his turret fully around to fire at Luke. But he does have the enemy artillery and the T54E1 behind him. But luckily for Luke, the T54E1's penetration isn't that great, so therefore he didn't lose any hit points to that T54. So that allows him to finally kill the Death Star and to focus his attention fully to the T54 and to that one artillery who has been shooting him the entire time, together with the other artillery piece who is still somewhere else on the map. And I gotta be completely honest with you guys right here. I am now 100% confirmed that Luke definitely has a spore liner, since he received so many shots from artillery, but for some reason he is still alive. So I guess if Luke didn't have that spore liner, he would have been dead 2 times already. But luckily for Luke, that is not the case. So while he's still getting absolutely hammered by those 2 artillery pieces, he does finally manage to load its final shell that will eventually kill the T54E1, leaving Luke alone against the last 2 remaining artillery pieces, which one of them is very close to him and is now actually trying to get behind him. But sadly for him, his teammates didn't die at such a convenient position, so it requires quite a struggle to avoid the mouse's turret. But because the artillery gave the mouse a slight little bump right there, he did lose some hit points, which is quite convenient for Luke since he now reduced himself to a definite one-shot, which allows Luke to finish him off with one shot, resulting into Luke being now in a 1v1 against the last remaining tier 9 American artillery, who could still be pretty much anywhere on the map, since you gotta remember the M53 is a pretty damn fast artillery piece, and it will with no doubt completely outmaneuver the mouse if it has to. But Luke doesn't have to worry about that quite yet, since he's absolutely getting loved by his teammates in the chat right now, while previously they were quite complaining about him being a noob and not knowing what they're doing. Well, I guess North American players can change their minds rather quickly, and this is again a proof of that. But nevertheless, while he's getting loved by his teammates, he now actually has to start to worry about where that M53 might possibly be. And I believe in a few seconds Luke actually says in the chat that he knows where the artillery last shot him from. So that gives him a rough indication of where that M53 could be. But hopefully for Luke, the M53 is not going to hide until the end of the game, because if that's the case and the mouse will actually play a cat and mouse game but reversed, you get it, because it's a mouse and usually the cat's chasing the mouse. Well, never mind. But anyways, if that's going to be the case, then Luke is pretty much game over, since he's never going to be able to catch up to that M53. But wait, Lucky, I thought I was watching a World of Cringe episode. What's going on? I haven't seen any cringe yet. Well, maybe except for the battle cat and mouse joke. But anyways, where's the cringe in the replay? Well, don't worry guys. As some of my other World of Cringe episode, the cringe in this episode is all centered around the end of the replay. But there is no time to talk about cringe right now, since Luke just spots the M53, who was trying to sneak up behind him, and oh, the M53 is actually coming up the hill, and Luke only has to normal roll his shot in order to win the game. Come on Luke, can you do it? Oh no, he low rolls, he leaves the M53 on just a few hit points, and oh no, this is probably going to be a heartbreak, since the M53 does manage to connect the shot and remove the last couple of hit points from bouncing Luke. Oh, what a disaster. But did you spot the cringe? Did you see what Luke could have done better in order for him to guarantee the win for his team? Well guys, the solution is all in the bottom of your screen, because Luke made a very big mistake and he did not load HE rounds. Because I think every World of Tanks player knows that RNG in World of Tanks can be a massive bitch. So what Luke could have done in order to guarantee the one-hit kill, even if RNG was the worst of the worst, he could have loaded an HE round. Since the HE rounds of the mouse do a lot more damage, so if you apply the worst possible RNG on the HE rounds damage roll, then the damage would still be sufficient to kill the M53 in one shot. But if he decided to shoot a P at the M53, which sadly for him he did, there is a slight little chance that RNG might not favor you and will leave the M53 on just a couple of hit points, and that's exactly what happened this game. So Luke, holy shit, what a hell of a game that was. You just did everything right except for that very last thing where you kinda, I think, not knowingly threw away the game. And I think just that, in combination with the lot of action that went before it, just made it worthy of a World of Cringe episode. And maybe just simply because there weren't any better World of Cringe replays. Make sure to send them in, please. I need some better content. No, just kidding. Anyways, Luke, thank you so much for sharing this replay with me. Even though it didn't contain a lot of cringe, it still was well worthy for me to show it to my awesome people on my YouTube channel. So thank you so much for that. Which brings me on my second point. So if you want to send me any awesome kind of replay, doesn't have to be cringy. It can also be crazy, random, epic moments for my World of WTF series, or maybe just a good replay that you think should definitely be worth of a spot on YouTube. It doesn't matter. You can all send them in into the email address that's linked down below in the description, together with the way how to correctly send me your replays, and who knows, you might actually see your replay being featured on my channel. So guys, before I'm gonna leave you with the post-game stats, I just want to say, if you enjoyed the video, then make sure to smack that like button. That would help my channel out a lot. Also, if you're new to my channel and you like these kind of videos, then make sure to smack that subscribe button so you will stay up to date with all my future content. And also, what did you think about this replay? Did you find it cringe enough? Did you think Luke played flawlessly? flawless, except for that tiny little mistake with big consequences at the end? Or did you spot some other flaws that Luke could have done better? Please let me know in the comment section down below. I'm very curious on your opinions about this episode as well. So guys, with all that said, that only leaves me with one more thing, and that is, of course, as always, have an awesome day, and I'll catch you guys later.
Jack it up.